and it lands on them really well. And they're like, wow, you guys have done a great job. Yes, I'm comfortable. Let's go. Let's go. You've got what I want. Let's go. Okay. So let's ask a polling question real quick. Where are you guys at in this process? I'm just kind of curious. If you could answer these two questions, I'd appreciate it. Okay, I'm not going to kid. Number 3 was kind of a trick question. Driving a point. Please clarify to everybody associated with your company here in the early phases, our ability to teach the market something they don't already know is going to be probably one of the most critical impacts we're going to have as we launch. And so you need to create a list of reframes. What do you know that your customers don't know? What does your technology allow them to appreciate? What basic science is behind your technology and your innovation? What are you going to teach? You need a whole list of things that you can teach. And if you don't, we should talk. Okay. Shifting gears, you're about to go to market and there's more, right? And your key task is to reduce risk. You're going to try and create customer loyalty by creating risk-free experiences. This is Capturing Loyalty. It's a book I highly recommend to you. John Larson and his advising group is awesome. I've had them at one of my other companies. They came in and did research on our clients, and they came in and they said, listen, if you're going to succeed, you need to do these 5 things. You need to gain equal clinical stature. You need to onboard your customers really effectively. You need to pay attention to the patient consult. You need to simplify reimbursement. This is too complex. And finally, number 5 is most critical. You need to sit these physicians down at the end of 90 days and demonstrate to them they got paid and the patients did well. Because what happens typically is you go back to your customers after they've used your product, you say, so how'd it go? And they go, fine, fine. You guys are all familiar with that clinical study published in a peer-reviewed journal, 100 surgeons, patients did fine, right? That is not an acceptable measurement. But you're not going to be successful until you demonstrate to your customer that they made, that it was financially feasible and it worked. So in terms of de-risking, you guys might remember Amazon. Amazon created a policy that made the rest of us comfortable buying online. I hadn't tried it on. I wasn't sure it was going to be the right color. Buying online was pretty scary at one point until Amazon came along and said, free returns. And they completely de-risked what it meant to work with them. You need to understand that principle. And John Larson and his team operate on a Likert scale, 1 to 5. And they say, don't even bother with customers that rate you as a 1, 2, or a 3. The goal is to get customers who rate you as a 4 to become 5s. And how do I do that? Well, 1, you should do that because 5s are this whole other different creature. Their research shows that a 5 is 8 times more revenue producing than a 4. They're less price sensitive. They're more willing to recommend you, and they want you to succeed. That might be their greatest value. But here's the thing you have to understand. As innovative as your product is, as excited as you are about what you're about to do and change the world, your customers don't care. It's not really about delighting them. You have to dependently deliver what they expect. You have to take the risk of working with you out of the equation. So this is funny. Hopefully you guys have seen this. Oh, come on now. Oh, my video is not working. I'm sorry. There was a bunch of athletes trying to get to the end zone, but they were celebrating too early and it wasn't working. And that's what happens if you don't have that appointment at the end of your process where you're confirming that it was financially feasible for your customer, and you're confirming that it really worked for your customer. And you, in the medical space, that means you have validated scientific instruments and you have an evaluation process that works. So let's talk about your process. When you hear the word sales process, what does that mean? That means you need to do the work of thinking through, what does it mean from the first contact with my customer, introducing my idea, to this last phase of the journey where they are advocate, champion customers. Advocate, champion customers. Well, that's going to be a process. There's going to be phases with your application. So from the first time we sit down and I present it to you, to the time they get their hands on training, or maybe they go away to cadaver training, or maybe there's in-servicing for their staff, there's a value analysis committee thing that has to happen, there's approvals at the hospital. Then there's the first several patients that they treat, to this meeting where they get to see the outcomes and incomes. You need to flesh that out. There needs to be phases and milestones that have to be hit, and activities that you've recognized cannot be missed under every one of these activities. If you do that right, then your management team will have validating questions so that if a customer stalls, if a deal stalls, if a customer puts your product down, you should be able to go back and check your process to see, well, did we actually do all the activities, or did we miss something? And then your tools need to match up to your phases, because in this phase, you need this tool, and in that phase, you need this tool, and in that phase, you need this tool. This is what I mean by sales process. And if you want help with that, I can help with that as well. When you do that well, it becomes customer facing. You need to go to your customers and show them a process by which they become proficient with your solution. And these are examples from other companies and some of my clients. You want something on a slide or on a handout that says, hey, this new game-changing, life-changing solution, we know what it takes to implement it and get you proficient and make you happy. And this is what needs to be done. This is what it's going to take. Now, they've got to partner with you and commit to the process. But what you show the physician might help, meaning this is one example of what we showed physicians.
Success requires insights. Elite execution requires training. Go to www.exsalesconsulting.com/special offers.